Lulanso Sherabling
인제 마펜트다 스도 치기 중에 우충
진진중기 최근 지대내 롱어선도 생글람네데
타니에 리발랑에 버라 랍교신
ruwa kunjin wenchap chungda machiba chini uda yeshin dundra
dal tri changar baching sunde sha chane lo ande te du te je chamma lo
수수 롱바 샤니 제수 결 고야기 내당 지기 원해
Siddha Rinpoche and the great scholars, as well as the monastic community. So the successive Siddha Rinpoches have been of great service and have left a great legacy in the service of the Dharma and sentient beings. So even at a very young age, when I saw Siddha Rinpoche, he really had interest in study of the Dharma and education. And over the years, he has actually been practical about education by establishing this monastery. Of course, there are many people who establish monasteries and temples, but there are few who actually works to dedicate their monasteries and temples for the study of for study and education of the Dharma. So, for example, if when we hear about Nalanda, the historical institution in India, we get the impression that it was a great center for learning and not a monastery for rituals. So similarly, we also need to give impression to people when they hear about such and such monastery that these are centers for learning. And therefore, Taisado Rinpoche had actually emphasized learning, and particularly the 5 different major sciences, as it is said in the text, that if the bodhisattvas even do not, if even bodhisattvas do not learn the 5 sciences, they cannot become a Buddha and so forth. So just as we have texts through which we learn about the progression along the path, likewise we need actually to put them into practice, what we study about the Dharma into practice. And in this way, through study and practice, we need to preserve and promote and enhance the teaching of the Buddha. So what has been done here in this institution is been really something concretely practical. So I'd like to congratulate you. So as the column for religion and culture has said, we right from the beginning, what we have actually believed in is hope for the best and be prepared for the worst. So in the beginning, sometimes we start some program and then we're not able to actually keep up with our programs, and then they decline. So it's important for us to keep up with the quality of my childhood. So I'll not repeat what I have said. So as the Minister for Religion and Culture has said earlier, what we have is the heritage that we have, the different subjects that have come to us from our forebears. But so those knowledge and cultural heritage that we have, which we can use to serve humanity as a whole, we should actually work hard on them. So with regard to Buddhism, of course, it may be suitable to some people, or it may not be suitable to people. But I usually mention this. There was a German man, who and 2 others who wanted to sponsor to build a Buddhist center in France. So I told the Rinpoche in France that this is not a Buddhist country. For example, if some other religions, people of other religion, built a huge center or church of their religion in the midst of Tibetan community, what would we feel? So likewise, in a country which is not a Buddhist country, if we establish a huge Buddhist center, it may not be of great purpose. So if the sponsors really wish to establish a Buddhist center, I suggested that it may be done in a Buddhist country, or so there are different religious traditions in the world. So it's not good to try to be stubborn about establishing our Buddhist center in a non-Buddhist country. So amongst the centers that have been established in the West, there are few who actually were disgrace to us. So the Buddhist centers, of course, can work on teaching Buddhism as a religion. And not only that, if we could also educate people in medical system of Tibet, Soarikpa, because we make medicine which are made from herbs and natural products and not chemicals. It would be good for the entire humanity as well. Inside Tibet, there are people who have established institutions for study of medicine, Tibetan medicine, and they have been able to actually establish branches in mainland China as well. So with medical system that we have, the Tibetan medical system, we can actually serve the world. And then, of course, in reality also, Buddhism is not about mere blind faith, but Buddhism is about transforming our mind through training. So what is transformed is the mind, and what we train to make that transformation is also the mind. So this cannot be. So the disturbance in our minds cannot be overcome through money or with some kind of drugs or machines. But we need to know about the workings of the mind and what causes a disturbance in the mind. And what is the disadvantage if we lose our peace of mind, if we actually lose the serenity? Is there a way out of this problem or not? And so Buddhism teaches about all these things, the different emotions that we have which actually disturb us, and what are those states of mind which actually overcome these disturbances and bring about peace of mind. And so we should try to work to use these tools as part of science. So modern science, the conventional modern science, of course, looks for things to measure and actually experiment and see changes. Physics is about that, focused on matter. So today, people actually are able to see that mere materialistic way of life cannot actually bring peace of mind and overcome our problems. And therefore, people are now taking interest in psychology, the science of mind. And therefore, there are lots of explanations of mind and emotions in India, traditional Indian thought, and particularly Buddhism, and specifically in the Nalanda tradition. So, Daisado Rinpoche, I wish to tell you that we have worked on the Kanjur and Tenjur to extract materials for study, for learning about science and philosophy, and then religion. So I make these three distinctions. I mean, the content of the Kanjur and Tenjur that we have, that Buddhist literature, translated literature that we have, the content I divide into these three. So with regard to philosophy, there is mention of the two truths, conventional, ultimate, and one of the presenters earlier actually made presentation on Rangtong and Shentong philosophical views, and he actually quoted many different citations from different literature, different sources, but of course these quotations may be interpreted differently. So even if you may bring up one quotation that may be interpreted differently according to different philosophical traditions, such as Chittamatras and Madhyamakas. So what we need is really to apply those teachings in our practice, more than being able to babble out. And then the person who made the presentation on the medicine and astrologies, they actually read out as if they were reading some kind of a biography of enlightened masters. But what I wish to say here is that regarding philosophy, Madhyamaka philosophy says that nothing can be found objectively if we actually search for the thing. Chandrakirti says that things do exist in convention. So we have conventional ways of expressing things or defining things which can be accepted in the world, and then in the ultimate sense that things do not have any objective existence at all. And so these kind of philosophies that we have in our tradition are actually something which can be compatible with science. For example, today quantum physics talks about things having no objective existence whatsoever. So from the point of view of philosophy, we may be able to, actually we should see that things are not, when we talk about the two truths, the Chittamatras actually say that everything that we see or perceive are reflection of our mind. There's some kind of imprint for those things that are left on our mind. And therefore, the observed and the observing, the observed object and the observing perception are of one substance, because they are simultaneously arisen. And therefore, Chittamatras reject any externality in things. So some quantum physicists say very similar things, like this. And so we can actually take these aspects of philosophy in our literature, in our tradition, as part of philosophy and also science. So for over 1,000 years, we have actually kept intact our heritage, our tradition, this precious and treasure. So we have to now see that what we have kept intact, how actually we can use that to serve humanity at large. And then the Buddhist centers around. The centers should be turned into centers for learning, and therefore use these centers to explain to people about the different emotions, and not just remain as a Buddhist center for Buddhists alone, but we should try to see if we can turn them into academic institutions for studying and learning subjects which are academic subjects, and then to actually shine forth to the world that these are what we have is to shine forth to the world the Nalanda tradition of learning. So this is what I wish to say. Is there anything that I could say? You have really done well so far, dedicated, so please continue to do so. And Thais Rinpoche can guide your people, and then the concerned people, or everyone actually must work together. The work doesn't fall only on the shoulder of one person alone. So the Khenpos and also students and everyone, perhaps you could meet sometimes and discuss about what you have and what kind of progress you can make, development and progress you can make. So everybody must work together, take the same, share the responsibility. So people really should take responsibility. So we can talk about serving humanity and the Buddha Dharma in practical terms as well. What we can do, just try to find, and in order to serve, in order to actually do that, we should see what preparations we need also to do. In South India, I told the people there that we only see what is around us. In Tibet, we used to see only, we had a very narrow perception of our environment. We only saw the land of snow surrounded by snow mountains. And now we need to open ourselves up. Now, if we can actually dance, perform, we have the opportunity to show our performance in on this world arena. So I meet many people, different people around the world, and particularly scientists and philosophers, as well as in India, and also Chinese, Japanese, Koreans. So I see many different people from around the world, and from different countries, and from my experience over the last many decades, I find that we have a very precious treasure. Although we have although we have a very good material, but we also need to see how to use this in the world arena, how to benefit people at large in the world. So if we can do that, then we will be serving the Buddha Dharma and sentient beings. We pray for the benefit of all sentient beings. Of course, the other beings in other galaxies and so forth, we may not have direct contact, but what we have to see what we can do to people, 7 billion people on this earth. Everyone is human being who can understand and have a language to communicate, and therefore we need to actually see how we can serve all the entire humanity on this earth. If we really wish to be practical about what we pray for, that is for the benefit of sentient beings, all sentient beings that we say. So it's not about propagating and disseminating Buddhism as such, and not gaining more sponsors for Buddhists, but how to serve sentient beings to overcome suffering and gain happiness. So please keep this in mind. I'm just saying this because I'm here in front of you, Rinpoche. So everyone else also please keep this in mind. And you have also have a retreat center for doing 3-year, 3-month retreat. So mostly maybe people are engaging in recitation of mantras, but by staying in a retreat for 3 years and 3 months, of course we may not become enlightened, but we need to see if we could actually apply the teachings within ourselves to make some progress on the path. As the Heart Sutra mantra says, Gati, Gati, Paragati. So first Gati refers to the path of accumulation, Sambhara mark, and the second Gati refers to the path of application or preparation, and then Paragati refers to the path of seeing, and so forth. And therefore, we need to see if we could reach even the first stage, first level of the path, which is referred by the first Gati in the mantra. So although we have Buddha nature, right now that Buddha nature is rather dormant, sleeping, and we need to awaken it. Whether we use whatever term we may use, Rangtong or Shentong, or the Heart Sutra says that all the 5 psychophysical aggregates should be seen as empty of inherent existence. And so that is what we should set as goal, to make some progress on the path. And sometimes we just take it for granted that this 3-year, 3-month and so forth retreat is for recitation of mantra and as many numbers as required. Even if you may not be able to develop true single-pointed concentration, if you could work hard in these 3-year, 3 months and so forth retreat, you could perhaps develop some experience of that leads to that single-pointed concentration. So we can do these things. So amongst Tibetans, I don't know if there are some people who have actually some experience of the Dharma. I know some Westerners who have actually meditated for over 30 years and who are now able to actually fix their mind single-pointedly on a single object for 3-4 hours. So if Westerners can actually be successful in such things, why can we not? So when these people actually stay focused in their meditation single-pointedly for 3-4 hours. What they actually also go through is, I don't know if they are actually focusing on these experiences, but they actually experience the dissolution processes of the elements in their meditation as well. So these days, people in the West, people use yoga for physical health, but we are not. Our practice are not meant for such trivial things. So what we are actually working and looking for is to overcome our negative emotions and defilements through our practice. So this prayer hall, assembly hall, is rather dark. And then you have another layer of wall outside it. If we do not have any light in it, we could just doze off in this hall, especially for the Dogdins. This may be good for you. So you have really built an amazing monastery, a temple here. So many people have really worked hard, and this is for the Buddha Dharma. And so you should rejoice in your good deeds if you have worked on building this monastery and dedicate them for the spread of the Dharma and happiness of sentient beings. And then there are many patrons, sponsors, who have helped financially. So your financial help actually has made this center, this monastery, possible to educate the monks and the nuns. And therefore you should also practically, and therefore you should also dedicate whatever merit you may have gained through this for the spread of the Dharma and the happiness of sentient beings. That's all I wish.